Hi, everybody. Welcome to Landmark Live Feature Rant. I'm your host, Legendary Neurotoxin, coming at you this week as I am every week with this show and so many others. Unity Daily, Dead Feature Rant, Procedural Powerhouses, and of course, Castles and Crap Shacks, the Landmark Tour Show. On my screen right, we have Adam. Adam, why don't you talk about what you're about a little bit here?
I'm just a jerk on the internet with an opinion.
That's it, everybody. Jerk with an opinion. He is basically the internet in one.
Exactly.
Summed up in one person. And
exactly.
on screen left here, we've got Daddio66. Hello, hello. Why don't you, since this is your first time on the show here, why don't you tell everybody a little bit of your what you're up to, your background with games, and how you kind of got up to this point with Landmark and stuff.
Well, I've been playing games since I've been wee high. When Pong first came out in the arcades and ColecoVision was first invented for the home console system. I even had a Tandy 1000 notebook back then. It was the laptop of the future with a little LCD display. The T1000 was a fun little doorweight. So, it's been around for a while, and I've been playing games since then. Still playing games, and hope to take a couple copies with me when I go, and play games for that long night's sleep.
Yeah, gotcha. Cool deal. Man, so you've been playing for a while, and you were saying a little bit earlier during the pre-show that you're also a tabletop gamer, and you said D&D and GURPS, and I wish I could find more people to play GURPS with. I'm sure if I just went and looked, I could, because I'm in Los Angeles area, and I'm sure there's GURPS groups around. Fun stuff. Mojo Kitty, I didn't have a Commodore 64, but I love the music for that system. Oh my goodness, some of the best chiptunes ever composed.
My dad had one, and I played with it a little bit, but my first real computer was a Timex Sinclair. That was the first one I got to learn to try and program with and stuff, but we had one in the house, absolutely.
Yeah. Of course, when I think about my the amount of time I've been playing games, I think there's industry veterans out there. Like I met Richard Garriott. He's been making games since before I was born.
Yep.
People have been making games since before I was playing them or really getting that intense with them. Like Dave Georgeson he's a senior in the industry. He's been around for quite a while. He's been a veteran of many projects, and unfortunately, his age might be catching up with him, because poor guy, he was apparently chasing a runaway shoe. I don't know what that means, but somehow his ankle horrifically exploded or something, and I guess he's in surgery right now. So, best wishes to him. I really hope.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, hey, it was probably 4th of July antics, and who knows?
Yeah.
But all the best to him. I feel for him, and I know the last thing he wants is to be, held up, in any sort of physical capacity with them having to do SOE Live right around the corner, so.
Actually, it's really funny you said that, because I tweeted out that it was just an excuse for Dave to be carried around in a litter at SOE Live and be carried up on the stage in one of those, royalty. And, if that's the case, Adam definitely is a volunteer for being one of the people to carry. He's tall and sturdy.
Hey, if SOE wants to fly me out, because I broke and I can't be there, you guys want to bring me up and put me up, I will gladly carry Dave George if I have to. But be more than happy to be that guy.
Yep, you can even put him in a toga.
He wants a hovering wheelchair. Smart man.
Yeah,
I would want a hovering wheelchair as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know he is a healthy person. I can tell he does take good care of himself. It's just
a
freak incident. It happens.
That's how it happens, man. That's how it happens.
I actually ended up pulling my ankle at the very end of a fencing tournament in high school, in the last match. So, well.
Yeah.
Yeah, hyperextended it. That wasn't so fun. I'd be off of that for a few weeks. A couple weeks. And that was.
Dust says Adam just wants to get close to Dave. No, I just want to get to SOE Live.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I mean, not that I don't mind getting close to Dave. I just really, more importantly, like yes.
All right, so
I'm with the show.
yeah, indeed. So that's Dave. We feel for him and we wish for the best. Maybe we can get together and do some sort of a collection of people's signatures from the community and do some sort of a build or something and get well soon sort of thing. That could be fun. We can talk about that sort of thing after the show.
Absolutely.
So, we talked about it a little bit on the pre-show. The Gem Finder's brooch has been released.
Yay! So we should. I'll get a chance to check that out later tonight. I'm sure.
Yep. And Daddio, you said you already checked it out. So why don't you give us the review one more time?
It's awesome.
Yes, indeed. That's
1 hour of unbridled glory. You can go out and find all the gems you want.
Yep. Now, do the gems also connect to other veins? Like, can you use the gem finder to help kind of lead to other stuff, or are they pretty well separated now?
I think they're pretty well separated. Everything I've seen was just the gems. So.
Okie dokie. Well, that's cool. I mean, that's still, the gems are going to be a hell of a lot easier to find, especially day one when the game goes live. Nobody has any tools except, oh, hey, I've got my founder's pickaxe and a gem finder's brooch. Let's find ourselves some fancy gems. Just start digging, and hopefully a landworm doesn't eat you.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be really nice because you'll have those gems available to trade for other stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just gonna make honing in on that stuff really, really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
It doesn't tell you what the
the
gem is. It just shows you where it is. So you still have to get down and discover it. So.
Yeah.
But that's just it. You know, it takes more than a minute or 30 seconds to really hone in and get in there and figure out what am I looking at when you use the regular stuff. So to have it up for an hour would just make life so much easier.
Yes, Rave. Yes. Perfect Kerran architecture. Oh, you. Alright, thanks a lot, Omid. See you later. Have a good one.
Bye, Omid. Thank you again,
See you,
Omid.
Omid.
Thank you guys to everybody on the team for the mention.
Alright, so gem finders are awesome. Oh, I should also mention the Dark Elf contest. It wraps up at the end of the day today. Is that not correct?
Yeah, midnight your time.
Midnight, yeah, Pacific time. So, if you're planning to get in your Dark Elf entry, get it in now. Get it in ASAP. The sooner the better, or the later the better. But don't get it in past the due date because they are pretty adamant about that. I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, do that. I really wish everybody the best of luck. I've done a couple of Dark Elf tours during Castles and Crab Shacks, seen some amazing stuff. Some of the stuff in the earlier Dark Elf tour was absolutely impressive. We were able to help give some ideas and ways to extrapolate on that. And when we came back and saw some of the builds, sure enough, they got built up in ways that really further honed the style and showed off what Dark Elves could and should be in EverQuest Next. So it's just been a really great process, the entire workshop process, being able to see how everything's built up across the world, and it's just been awesome. Daddio, I can't remember, you submitted into the Dark Elf contest, didn't you?
Yeah, I have a signal tower and a tavern that I submitted for it. Nothing fancy, just figure I'd whip them up and see what happens.
Cool deal. Are those available in game for people to search on a claim?
Yeah, they're available. View. I don't have them up anymore because I did a couple of other builds for the Kerrans and stuff like that now. So
Gotcha.
I have some Kerrans jungle themed stuff up.
Very cool. Very cool.
Excellent.
So we know that they're going to be in the jungle primarily, or are they going to be kind of everywhere?
I went with a Polynesian type of thing. I figured that was influenced a lot by Asian. It's jungle climate, and it's they like fish. They're cats, so they gotta be by the water to get some fish. So I figured Polynesian would be a good place to start. But now that I see what they're bringing, I'm gonna have to rethink and redo them a bit.
But keep in mind, what we're going to see from them doesn't mean that's going to be what we have only to work with. We can suggest other things to them if it seems more correct for Kerrans for what they would be, what they should do. Then we could definitely see things going that direction, or even see a complete overhaul. We're going to have 6 weeks to mess around with this stuff, so it's going to be. Plus, we actually have a 1 week breather here. They've actually said they're going to wait until next week before they get going with it. So we've got enough time to really completely redo the entire Kerran style if we want to. It's just a matter of us coming together as a community and not only kind of saying this is what we want, but also saying what we want is, different than what's in the style guide. So let's see what we can do to kind of change the direction. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the case, but like what do you feel about it? Because we saw how much the Dark Elf stuff changed over the course of it.
Well, the Dark Elves got a lot more sharpness put on in them. The players really came out of the woodwork with the scrolling and the sculpting that they put onto their buildings with the inlays and everything. I think the players, from what I've seen recently, have gone above what the devs were expecting in building. I saw a bridge today, which I had on my show, and this bridge was awesome. I can't remember the guy's name, and I really wish I had written it down. But the bridge was awesome. The finished version, I think they said it had a glass look down, like there was
nice
a murder hole type of thing.
Oh, cool.
Covered in glass for you to walk over. So
that's pretty awesome. I think about that with the functionality of combat and how easy it would be to just smash that and try to throw somebody through it.
That's something a Dark Elf would do.
Yes, they would. Of course, I mean, if there's an edge nearby, there's that too. What was that, Adam?
I was just going to say here, if I'm not mistaken, from what I understand so far about where we're going to be starting in EverQuest next, it sounds like we're going to be in a combine situation.
Yeah.
Where all of the, intelligent races are kind of rallied together out of the same starting area. So I think that's why in this one single image we got of Kerrans and Kerra and their architecture, there's more stonework, I think, than many of us were expecting in this. I think this is coming from the logic that if all of these races were coalesced together, they would have picked up on things like basic stonework, which is what this looks like. It's not fancy, it's not ornate, it's basic.
Right, but that doesn't mean ornate isn't in their arsenal.
No,
and
again, if you look at the woodwork, you look at the top parts of those, that's where they put all of their design and culture aesthetic. That's where it seems to have been focused. So I'm very much enjoying what I'm seeing here, and I actually look forward to seeing what players do with this idea for sure. But I would suggest people who are building take the advice of Rosie and Jeff and take a week off.
Yeah.
This is probably an internal thing they do with their artists after they've done an intensive design session, is they tell them, go play video games for a week, or they get them to refresh their palette and renew. So I would suggest doing that and not overkilling yourself at this point to try and make I'm going to keep doing this. I would take the break if you guys aren't.
Well, wait a minute now, Daddio. You're kind of doing the opposite though. You're like, oh yeah, Dark Elf's done. I'm already moving on to Kerran.
Yeah, I've already done a Dwarven Inn, and I've already got 2 Kerran buildings that I've done.
Yeah, well, if you're inspired, you're inspired.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing is right now with Landmark. The only thing you can really do is either explore other people's creations or create your own. Yeah. And a lot of people that I know are still chugging away, plugging away. I'm sure Cody Manette might be waiting until midnight tonight to submit his Dark Elf build. I know he's been doing it every day, little by little. And I don't know if he's submitted it yet, did you or not, but he's got till midnight, and I'm sure he'll use every minute on it that he can.
Yeah.
So, and there's a lot of people just like that. I sort of rush things. I'm not a perfectionist unless it comes down to something I'm really trying to express.
Yeah, gotcha.
You know, it's one of the things where I can build a box, make it look like a dwarven inn, and then add the details on later.
Yeah.
Pretty it up as much as you want.
They seemed really, really, really like genuinely taken aback at the quality of the process they got out of the players during these last couple of weeks on Dark Elves. And I really look forward to seeing how much more they're going to do with that. I suspect you're going to see them, like even blowing it up even more than they think they were originally planning to get the players more involved.
Okay, go ahead. I'll write it down and say it in a moment.
I would just like to see what the devs have compared to what the players have produced. I would like to see where the devs are right now with their building stage for a Dark Elf building that they've designed and is planning on implementing compared to our stuff, our player stuff that they put out there. Because I got a feeling some of the players are outshining the devs' creations.
Well, that may be the case. I think their initial work they showed to us. I think that those original design drawings were probably the extent. They're not going to. I don't think they're going to give up everything that they did on their side, but I suspect they didn't deep dive too much because, from what we understand, they've already developed, scrapped twice, I think, leading up to this iteration that they unveiled last year and that we're now helping along with. So I'd be interested in seeing some of that stuff too, but at the same time, the stuff they settled on, the things they did change in the style guide, there's nothing I saw that I went, oh, wow, people really screwed up on that. It's and I wasn't really super involved in this because, again, I didn't really have a horse in the race with Dark Elves, so I didn't want to muck up with my opinion when it really didn't matter to me in the end. It came out going, oh yeah, that's what I expect Dark Elves to look like. Yeah, it all came out great. So, I don't know. I don't know if I agree with the idea that Daddio is postulating that we should see all their stuff because players are doing better. It's if the players are doing better, the players are doing better. There's no need to call out hardworking people in the office to be no, this didn't cut it. This didn't cut it.
Oh, this is the point that they've made very clear to us. They have a small team that works during a certain amount of hours during the day, and that they can only do so much with that. Versus, us players, millions of man hours every month. Learning, crafting, refining, honing, learning more. We have the collective capacity to do all of this stuff and give them the results so that they can help make things better. Now, this is the thing that I was going to say is that we've actually, and it's a really interesting thing to consider, both building contests we've had so far, we've had drastic changes in the availability and style of the tools and props during that period of time. Before, we didn't have in the first contest, we didn't have the Lumicite stuff and the Lumifiber or the Lumicite balls, the orbs, until towards the very end. And that lighting, that ability to give the atmospheric lighting to it, is huge. In fact, the fact that they're talking about just being able to give us the emitters without the fires and the lamps and everything, I'm really excited for that.
So was I. That's kind of been something I've been asking for, the ability to add particle effects to things. So, I can make it look like my stone is floating by magic, I've been wanting stuff like that for a while. So I agreed. I'm glad that Jeff was players are going through super high level effort to hide the items that create the effect.
Yeah.
Get it. You guys need the effects. And it's all right, cool. So, they're definitely, this is a learning process for everybody. Everybody. And like someone said, and I have said repeatedly on the show, if you're new, it's something I have for the last couple of weeks. They're pulling their talent for the next gen games from you guys that are building. This is it. If you love doing this stuff, keep doing this stuff, because you may find either between what you sell in Player Studio, or maybe you get offered a gig working with them. There is going to be a bankable skill behind being able to manipulate voxels in a nice way. So it's exciting time. So I'm glad that they've enjoyed it. I've seen other folks who have been super impressed too. They're really happy with the way, the player base in general seems happy with the way the open development's been going. So yeah, I'm super stoked. No complaints. I have no whiny complaints to make this week.
Well, good.
On this subject.
So here's a question then to you, Daddio. How did things change with your Dark Elf build the moment they introduced roaming vectors and the new kind of tools and technology and shapes and stuff that we didn't have before? Did it improve things? Did it change anything at all? Is it just, it's just a different way to access everything again?
For me, I'm not one of the people that are like voxelmancer. I don't go into breaking the voxels down each individual piece and all that. I build and I get a lot of happy accidents like Bob Ross. I build, things turn out. Today I amazed myself with something I did. It's like, oh, it's a happy little accident. I'm trying to do something and it works out. Sometimes it doesn't. The day before yesterday when I was working on the thatched hut, I want to say it was like a rice paddy hat, it has a big ring and the little thing on the top take the shade off the people's back while they're working out in the fields. Trying to replicate that in a roof, in a round roof, so it's symmetrical. Hard as heck.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Scrapped it on day one, came back on day two. I think I had it done within an hour. And it turned out to me pretty well. Not excellent, but pretty well. A little bit of voxel tearing, but you can camouflage a lot with textures.
Yeah, that's true.
So it looks good. Now, if I was to take the time like Fugazi does and recreate every little piece for every little detail, I mean, the guy to me is like, he's a master creator. He's one of the people that should be considered getting a job at SOE to help put buildings in EverQuest Next, in my opinion. There's some people that can do things like Draconis and Stroger's Cat with different voxels. It's beyond me. It's a skill that I'm not into right now because I don't need it right now. When I need it, I'll go ahead and learn it through their tutorials or from Temis tutorials, or there's tons of people out there that learn and are willing to share the knowledge.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing about this community. It's there for the effort. If you're going out looking for it, you're going to find somebody that's offering it. And you won't get arrested for it.
Yeah, no, it's a really good community for, just anybody who wants to learn things. There's so many different tutorials. There's people that can teach you live. Now we have the tools being able to show in-game, so you can actually have people work one-on-one in-game, no stream or anything. So that's really awesome. They've definitely gotten a lot more, like the ability for people to learn. It's just so much better now, and it's great because they needed that stuff from the beginning to make it more enticing and more palatable for people who don't know how to build, and they would watch somebody else build and it's like, my goodness, I don't know how you're even doing that. Well, now they can see how they're doing it. The mystery is it's unveiled. It's there. People can just see when somebody's building. You don't have to watch them stream. You can see exactly where the tools are going, what they're doing, see it in real time, see it from different angles than they're seeing it from, which is also something really cool. I'm definitely looking forward to the camera that shows like your progress while you're building or whatever they had talked about way back. But yeah, I think that's probably about enough. We were on the subject of the Dark Elf contest there, and I think we talked through that there. So let's move on to, we're going to be talking about they talk. Okay, so during the Landmark Live show, they talked about the development process, kind of where it starts and how everything
Which
goes.
was cool. I liked seeing how that whole process gets iterated from idea to implementation in the game. Yeah.
Now it's something I really like. I come from a little bit of a different perspective on it because excuse me, because I, having done development, being at studios, etc., I kind of understand how an idea does turn into a feature in a game, and the entire process was just for me, hearing, yep, they do that part right, yep, they do that part right, yep, hey, they do everything right with the process. I've got no complaints about it, so. That's a really cool thing. I'm really glad that the way they do the things the way they do, to make sure the right people see it, and the people who don't have to deal with something, you just don't bother them with it. If something can be done with the functionality that exists, you don't have to bother the engineers. If you can do something with the art that already exists, don't bug the artists. And I like that approach. It's it's a good way to do things, and especially that's with the if anybody wonders what a producer does, that's what they're there for, is to make sure everybody's working on the things that they need to be working on to have the most productivity for the project. Likewise, they're the ones who are responsible for making sure everybody is getting the stuff they need to continue with what they're doing. So it's something. When I was doing production stuff, the kind of line I came up with is that as a producer, at the end of the day, I don't have a single thing I can hold in my hand and say, this is what I made today, and yet if I wasn't there, the project wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
So it's a really great process. I'm glad they got to explain it so everybody could see how it all works.
And why it's not like, hey, why can't we just have this thing added? Well, and that was happening. I don't know if anybody here watched the EverQuest 2 live stream before the Landmark Live today. There was a lot of that was discussion that came up there as well. Like, why can't we just add blah? Well, because then we have to bother these guys, and these guys, and everybody's working on new things. And if we take them off that, they explain the whole idea that, yeah, you just you make the most out of what you have available to you at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I like seeing. Did you notice in the video they showed with the concept of the pulverizer? They showed a type of pulverizer I haven't seen before, and I wonder if that's something that's coming. Did you see it with
sci-fi?
With the crystals that came out, and I thought that was pretty goddamn cool, actually.
Yeah, that reminded me of Dark Elf pulverizer. Maybe when they bring them out, you never know.
Potentially. It's something I wonder if we'll actually see in EverQuest Next, or if it would be a very limited item. Because we've already heard about in EverQuest Next the idea of undermining during battles and trying to dig into the space below to get under a wall, and then if you're on the defending side, you have to find your ways down and be able to counter those efforts. So I could see pulverizers being used for both sides of that, but it seems like something that would have to have some sort of a limitation, like a fuel supply, so you aren't just going out there with 50 people with 50 pulverizers and just wrecking the world.
Well, wasn't that one of the events they were talking about? Tree harvesting, going out and taking all the trees out?
Yes. There's a group that's trying to do that. I can't remember the specific details. I'm sure you can find them around on the Landmark website or through Twitter or other sources. But their goal is basically trying to chop down all the trees on the island before the respawn cycle. Which, to me, unless you've got someone from SOE that's actually sitting there with the ticker that can count off how many trees are still left, you can't really know, because these islands are pretty gigantic, and we're not going to be able to have thousands of people on them to make sure every square inch is covered.
So the party poopers in chat are sure, of course, to point out that is an old video, and those are future stages of pulverizers. But like we just got done saying, it's art and animation they did that they're probably not going to waste. So I suspect you will see them get repurposed and introduced into the game at some point.
It might be August Streamers giveaway.
Who knows? Yeah, exactly. Look at that. And it does nothing more than a high-end pulverizer does. It just looks cool.
Oh, okay. Speaking of which, rant that's not on the list of things that needs to be ranted about because it's hilarious. The Prime Grappler. So I guess
we're going to talk about the dev process. Go ahead.
Yeah, there isn't. I think we
absolutely. We're done.
We did pretty much cover what there's to talk about there. So, the Prime Grappler. They said, "Oh, the Prime Grappler, it's too powerful. We must take it away from them." And now, months later, I haven't heard any acknowledgement in particular from anyone from the team. But if you look at the Delver's Grappler, well, the range speed might not be quite as fast, and I think maybe the firing speed might not be quite as fast. But the range and the rate that you can refire it are the exact same as the Prime Grappler. So,
Well, he's a developer. He probably has magic dev grappling hook, for heaven's sakes.
Get these out of the chest. You can pull them out and get them out of the chest. They'll disappear, when we get the wipe, but then you'll just have to re-find them.
yeah.
Yeah, with it saying Terry pulled out an unreleased one on the stream 2 weeks ago. So
There you
I'm
go.
sure the developers are playing with all sorts of stuff that we haven't seen yet.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they can also fly right now. We can't.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. We've seen
That's
them
true.
pull that trick more than a number of times.
for sure. Yeah, unreleased pulverizer. But yeah, it's to me the idea that Prime Grapplers, we had them in alpha. They're considered to be too powerful, and they were removed from everybody except I was still able to redeem one after closed beta started, and it never got removed from me. So I've still been using it and enjoying it. But that was what I looked back at the stats of that, and I looked at the Delver's Grappler from the chests in the caves, and well, wait a minute, these things are almost exactly alike. At least the stats that matter are. So I don't know if they're going to actually do something and acknowledge that, bring back the Prime Grappler or something, because it would be a great perk to have. Somebody was saying everyone who is a trailblazer, an explorer, could get the Prime Grappler, and that'd be a way to do it. But what do you guys feel about it? It was an awesome item when we had it, and I'm
going to enjoy watching you cry when yours gets taken away, just on principle.
No, I'll just get a Delver's Grappler. That's no biggie.
I don't care, whatever. It sounds like it's not going to matter. They're putting something in the game that's going to be like that, so I wouldn't sweat it.
It's nice for caves, but that's about it. Regular grapple hook will get you as high. Just takes a little longer to get there. So,
Yeah.
Diggs is saying, how can they pull the Prime Grappler? They have said repeatedly on the stream that it was not balanced for the game they wanted. So
Right.
I'm guessing it was just too powerful. It was taking you further than they wanted it to go. Has that changed internally? I don't know, but that's what their reasoning was when closed beta started.
And now they've realized, well, actually, we can handle an item that's that powerful. Or maybe they've got the Delver's Grappler more powerful than they actually intended. They're going to nerf that at some point.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, Rave, it was game-breaking in Alpha, but we already knew Alpha was fully unoptimized, and,
Maybe
So-
that's why all of our frame rate sucks right now, is because Legendary Neurotoxin somehow gimped the system to keep his, and so it's messing up our game.
hashtag blame Noro.
Yeah, well,
Hashtag blame Neuro 2014.
I already made Sog have to end his races because I kept winning them all. It's like, oh, I'm already at the end. Hey, where's everyone else? Oh, I've got a Prime Grappler.
It only takes one guy to screw it up for everybody else.
Yeah. So, okay, that was what I had to say on that subject. So, Keybindings.
Yeah, so we're getting a patch update tomorrow, Thursday, depending on when you watch this. And yeah, a couple of things. They say bug fixes, performance fixes, blah blah. But Keybindings, Keybindings, water building voxels the week after.
Well, yeah, next week is going to be being able to build with water, and that's
But
huge.
Keybinds this week, a lot of people were celebrating.
Yeah.
There were a lot of happy folks.
Yeah, oh yeah. International keyboards, people who use... I mean, tilde is my push-to-talk button, so whenever I was trying to build while I was talking with my buddies on TeamSpeak, it'd be awkward. So being able to change that up is nice. I actually just... Finally, I'd won a Strike 7 keyboard, and then it turns out that they sent me a dud, the promotions company. So they sent me another one, and it turns out that was a dud too. The up arrow didn't work, but I was able to swap out one of the parts with one of the other ones. So I've got one fully functioning of this, you're going to see the upside down version. This giant freaking beast of a keyboard. Yes, it comes in 3 colors. I can actually change the color. Here, you can see it in purple. Giant ass keyboard. It's got like so many hotkeys, so I can just put hotkeys for anything that I need. I've got 4 on the left, 5 on the right, 12 on this little touch screen here. So it'll be really nice to be able to bind the things to exactly the controls that I want. So instead of having to hold left click, for example, I can hold this little red button next to my left hand.
And what brand is that?
This is the Cyborg Strike 7 from Mad Catz. I would hope that the ones that somebody purchases and doesn't win work 100% of the time, but these ones were an interesting promotion. I don't know if they do lemons for promotions or something, but that's how it ended up going down. But I've got a fully functioning one now, so I'm happy about that.
I don't know if you noticed when they were showing the key binding screen, I saw that they had a couple features. I'm wondering if we're going to see tomorrow. Will they still be there? Like attack button, mouse attack 1, mouse attack 2. So I'm thinking, how many attack is combat that close now? They're already planning these mouse attacks.
Well, if they have to create, the artist has to go in and create where the words show up, descriptions, things like that. So it would make sense if they're baking that stuff in right from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
Could be. Yeah, I figure they're probably doing everything on the internal build with as close to a fully featured version as they can, and then they peel back some of the features for the versions that we actually see. So they might have the combat stuff in that version, but the version we see, and it might just be like literally like just putting a couple front slashes in a few different places in the code for us to not see that part. It could really be that simple. Or a little check mark somewhere on some part of the launch device or the compiler or whatever. These are smart people with very smart tools, so being able to build the player version versus the dev version is a process they can do quite readily and quite easily. Jeff Butler's desktop
pretty
with 4
much
5.
makes sense. It's and some folks are pointing out that like you said, mouse attack 1, mouse attack 2, and that kind of sounds like going to what we were talking about last week, and is combat. Actually, I think I was saying this on the Evercast show. We were talking about combat, and I think the game's going to go into like a whole new sort of mode when you're got a combat stuff equipped. I don't think we're going to keep the exact same functionality that exploring and mining has right now. That's just a guess, but they're announcing it at SOE Live, so it makes sense that they have access to those things because they're testing it right now internally. They have to be.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's going to be, I don't want to say very simple combat for people to get into. I'm going to say it's going to be easy for people
Basic,
to combat.
yeah, it's not going to be.
It's not going to be, you need 12 rolls or 12 rows of hotbars, just to do all these special attacks.
Yeah.
It's going to be pretty simple, click and point and attack type of stuff. So.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it could be some combination of like left clicks, right clicks, and then your state, if you're standing still, if you're moving in a direction, if you're in the air, if you're crouched, or, all of these things can be the modifiers. Yeah, Wick, of course I'm going to be going to SOE Live. See, I've even got my SOE Live shirt on.
From last year, though.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So yeah, that's going to be really exciting, seeing what it's going to be at SOE Live this year, what we're going to see from combat, because as we've talked about on previous episodes, the blueprint that used combat coming in July now doesn't have combat listed, and there's some secret thing coming in August at SOE Live, and what could it be?
Well, have you noticed that the beta announcement went back out for EverQuest Next for people to start signing up for the beta of that?
Oh, yeah. I actually looked on the EverQuest Next page earlier. I was trying to find if my website, my browser was, I guess, a little too small and the bar wasn't showing at the top. But the thing that did show up, it's like, oh, apply for beta is back up. Well, fantastic. And I wonder if they initially intended for everyone who applied for Landmark to automatically be applied for EverQuest Next.
Yeah, I got no email or notice saying, I'm looking right now, I've got nothing that says, hey, EverQuest Next beta. Well, thanks, SOE.
No,
Let me see if I can find my email. I'll forward it to you.
Okay, so Keybindings are awesome. So water is going to be coming next week. Being able to build with water, being able to use water as a voxel material to place in the world. That is going to be awesome. Everybody should be excited for that, even non-builders, because it means we're going to have a level of interactive claims that we didn't have before.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing what folks do with this, and who knows, maybe I'll get ideas.
Yeah, water as a building tool would be nice to actually have water in the fountains.
Yeah.
Coming down off the edges, little miniature waterfalls and stuff. I'm not sure it's going to be like the animated as much as the ocean, but I'm hoping it has some kind of ripple effect to it.
Yeah, it's probably not going to have the full-on waving back and forth like kelp in the water look that we saw from the first time water was applied to buildings, and that was hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
But it should be it should have some amount of flow to it, some amount of translucency, and hopefully this will be the precursor to glass voxels as well.
Yes, that's what I'm looking forward to. Having lighting in glass voxels, and I may actually try and do some stuff. I have ideas.
Yeah, Grumble Snort, I would imagine if you build the water dense enough that you can maintain the swimming state the entire time, you could make a waterfall that you could swim up. Yeah, be like the Mario games. Mario 3, I think, was the one where you had to swim up waterfalls in like Giant World or whatever.
Well,
Yeah.
I think, can't you swim up waterfalls right now in Minecraft and stuff like that? So
Probably. There have been many swimmable waterfalls in many games.
mm-hmm.
This is true.
Okay. Alright, so I think let's talk about the workshop a little bit here. There's some interesting stuff being talked about.
Yeah.
So they talked about the props wish list discussion. Now I'm going to post this after the show at some point, and I'd love to have you folks come through and upvote it and put down any other ideas on it. But instead of necessarily changing up all of the props that we have, or making a whole bunch of new props for the various different purposes, taking the ones we have and having repurposed versions. We have plants where there's like a non-glowy version and a glowy version, or one that has the flies and one that doesn't have the flies. Well, maybe we could see about doing the same with like bookcases, for example. Instead of just the static bookcase, which you'd still be able to craft, and all the ones that exist in the world would use that, you'd be able to have one that pushes back, so you've got like a secret passageway behind it, or one that slides sideways, so you can once again reveal a secret passage, or once again revealing a secret passage but by rotating. There's various different ways that you could put some action on those bookcases to make them more interesting, more appealing, building up a claim with all sorts of, not just those, but various types of moving props and decorations. So people are moving their mouse around. It's like, I can see that there's a whole bunch of things that I can move, but I don't know which one's actually going to reveal a path for me. And that could be really good when you're under pressure, when there's lava or gas pumping in that's going to kill you, or a bunch of kobolds on the other side of the gate that are about to Zerg spam you. So that could be a really fun sort of thing, like people just having to quickly find the next path to the next area before they get killed by whatever's coming for them, as a sort of an interesting build. And that could even be something you could do right now, is just have one person in walk only mode, and as they get closer, if they actually in walk catch up to the person who's running and trying to find their way out, the round ends and then switches over or whatever, or they lose and that's it, and they're dead, to that claim, and they can never be back there again.
Well, who was it? I think it was either Omid or Terry that said they would like to have the wall where you could walk through as like an illusionary voxels. So almost like a painted air voxel, where you can texture it anything you want. It looks solid, but you go to walk through it, and bam, right there. That'd be really nice.
Oh, yeah.
Trap in the ground that looked like grass, and didn't know it. Oopsie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Spikes. Yeah, no, it's definitely some great ideas with that, yeah.
First thing it made me think it was the Legend of Zelda. Some of those walls that you walk through, and some of the later dungeons where the only way you get through is walking through the walls.
Well, even the way they said, they were saying how PlanetSide has the decals to reflect damage on the walls and stuff. If they can find the way to implement something like that in a landmark where you have your brick wall up and someone is taking a hammer to it and chipping away to show the decals, giving you the damage without actually having to destroy voxels, would be a nice way. Because then they could be able to use the illusionary voxels to walk right through for the sieges and stuff like that. Because I'm not sure how the warfare down the road is going to happen if you have ballista and catapults and you have these giant boulders being hurled at your castle. You're going to be losing chunks of it at a time, I take it. But how is the damage going to happen? It's going to be like where the trees were chopped down and you had all those particles around on the ground for a little bit, so you can have all these voxels laying around. So I mean, there's still a lot to see, a lot to hope for.
For sure. Yeah, combat. We haven't even seen like the very basics of what that large scale siege kind of warfare is going to look like, and I would want to say the engine's ready for it, but I have no idea what it's going to be like. It could be something where we're actually seeing full physics mechanics where the voxels that are struck become free-falling, damaging particles of their own, and then where those all fall, where they hit, can potentially do more damage, knock more things loose, do more damage, etc. That's something that I'm almost a little worried about, because with PlanetSide 2, things that fall on things just kind of destroy them. The weight relations, the weight and gravity relationship of things smashing things, it's a little broken. So I don't know if it's just something that they need to do with the vehicles in PlanetSide 2 to make sure they don't fly off into space off of every jump, or if it's something that just isn't going to be a problem with voxels because it's using a different system entirely.
Well, it sounded to me like it was more in lieu with showing things like scorch marks, being able to put at, change the texture of the item you've built with. So, here's the new air stone cobble. All right, now here I can add, 4 levels of weathering now, and it will, kind of weather it up for you. I don't think it would. I think the voxel destruction thing is going to be separate from this template sticker thing they were talking about. I think that's more about like people buy customizations in PlanetSide too, so that when they land in that vehicle, if they've unlocked stickers for that vehicle, they always appear when they're driving that vehicle.
Right.
I think that's what I think people were talking about. That kind of level of templates.
Yeah, and I think the ability to actually give players that level of control with the decals should be really nice. Being able to put down, even if the area isn't actually being damaged, being able to make an area look worn out and weathered, being able to attach decals on a wall and be like, all right, this place has already been kind of charred and broken up.
You're building a dungeon and there's been a war or battle in it or something. Like you want to be able to replicate all sorts of, these Imperial blast marks are too precise for sand troopers or whatever you're going to do.
Good one.
All right, he talked about Star Wars. I got to take a drink.
Yep. Yeah.
No.
It wasn't Star Wars Galaxies.
That's not the drinking game. The drinking game is if I mention Star Wars Galaxies.
Okay.
Now you
Well, What you got going there, by the way? I didn't get myself a brew. I probably should have. Oh well.
Just a course.
Gotcha.
But
Oh.
I thought it'd be interesting because then you could put cracks in walls with those decals. You can put maybe a little hole in the wall to look through, and the
Which you
cracks
can
around
do
it.
to a degree with the voxels, but
Yes.
this will help you refine that. So if you want to build the ancient temple ruins, you can just put that final layer of detail on it so it looks like a proper, oh, this is an age, been here 500 years kind of thing, not, oh, I just knocked some holes in it. Which, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Yeah,
right.
people can do amazing things with voxels, but having something like this will just make it a lot easier to kind of put finishing touches on that kind of stuff.
I'd rather have it as a texture on a voxel than a decal to stick on the wall, personally. Give me so I could paint the whole wall, like the 5 different shades of gray that we have. Give me 5 different shades of a scorch mark or a crack or a weathering effect. Let me gradually age it to the way I want to do it, But as you're getting back on the topic with the props, sliding bookcases would be awesome. People love the iron portcullis, the hidden chamber behind the bookcase, or sliding stair doors, or a stair that would flip up and down, or something to give you access, like to Thing in the basement of the Munsters. Anything that's animated like that is easy. You have an existing prop, set up your parameters to slide it to the left or to the right. How many voxels, and put it back. That's something that I'm sure people would pay hand over fist in the SC store for. Animated props.
Oh yeah. Well, being able to have that level of control would be lovely. I'd really like to be able, especially that would give people more control when a prop has been scaled to still have it match the proportions of their claim. If I make my bookcase or whatever a bit smaller, but I still want it to move 20 voxels or however wide it's going to move, I would be able to go in and then select however much it's scaled down, but then relative to that scale, move it 20 voxels, or maybe I have to manually enter 30 or 40, whatever, guess and check. I'm fine with that. Just give me the tools to input the stuff and let me handle it. But I'm not sure if that's more difficult than
making the prop and giving it the animation.
Yeah, because that's a big piece of interface that they would have to put in.
Well, it's still like with the story bricks or the scripting that they're going to put in for the NPCs down the road, so players can create their own adventures. They're going to also have to create the scripting for traps and props for stuff to disappear and move. So hopefully the moving blocks will be included. So you can stick a voxel behind that bookcase and attach it to that prop so the prop would move with the voxel.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll be that simple. I'm sure it won't be.
Well, no, that's the difficult thing with moving voxels, is that it's I can't remember the name of the cartoon that did it. It's basically, imagine you've got a picture of sandstone and you're moving a block. You're not moving a block of sandstone, you're moving something that looks like that sandstone in that position along a path. So it's going to change the appearance of the voxel as it moves. That's something that's going to be really weird and interesting to see how they're going to have to resolve or develop around one way or another, because we're going to want to be able to make our own things that move and interact like that. But right now it only seems feasible to have props with other props kind of tied to them, like a door with a torch on it for some reason.
Well, they did say during that conversation, later on in the list, props, stuff that moves, has particles and other effects. They're like, yes, we hear you. We know you want these abilities, and we want these abilities separate from the props. So it sounds like what you guys are asking for is already something they're working on.
Yeah.
Which is, I think it will be, sooner rather than later, that everyone's going to get movers and switches. I agree. I think the whole system needs to be like that. I had made jokes about down the road when they add mounts and vehicles. It's literally an engine you make that you can stick in something you made out of voxels. Was always my idea. You know what I mean? Because then all they're doing is they're adding the movement effect to that engine, depending on, is it a floating engine, is it a flying engine, is it an animal engine, whatever the case may be. But the idea being that it sounds like they want to give us those abilities. Like, I want to be able to add the ability to make my stone look like it's being floating by magic.
Yeah.
And it sounds like they're very much on the same page about it. So
now we could see like a movable type of material develop later that it's uses the same technology as voxels, but it gets around the problem of looking weird as it moves because it's just a solid color. The things that we'd be able to create with it might look a little cartoony at first, and we might need to make them a little large or do a lot of microvoxel work to get the right kind of detail. But I would honestly take that and be able to use that to make whatever moving thing, and I'd be happy with that. Even if the color palette I have and the overall appearance of it would be very limited and simple, I would love to have something where I can use some amount of voxels and some amount of either props or some sort of a movement engine to build the things that I'm going to be driving and flying around with. So Daddio, what say you about this?
For the moving props and stuff like that, I'm all for. I would love to see, like I say, a working drawbridge to go with the portcullis would be great.
Yes.
yeah.
The working drawbridge, with the chains and everything, to just slip it up and down, something like the trapdoors. They need to have a wide variety, either in-game or available through game. So that's why I can see Player Studio probably expanding for Landmark to some 3D models, maybe a year or so down the road. Much like they did with Free Realms. When Free Realms was an active game, they had 3D models you could introduce for. I think they had weapons that they were designing and stuff in Free Realms. So hopefully they'll allow the 3D modelers to create the props. They might not be able to animate them. That would be something that the SOE side would have to do. Is hook the animations up. But it would definitely help the game progress to get these 3D animators working for them, just like we have the voxel people working towards a goal for them now.
Yeah, and that's actually how it works with PlanetSide 2 right now, is that players can make the things. They can't animate them, but they can give the instructions for the team to animate them, and if it's not something too complex, they'll do it. And then the other thing is the thing, I don't know if they've actually got it going yet, but for actual full body costumes and outfits, that's the part where you're really going to have the animators and the riggers putting their work in from the community, because those actually have to be rigged to the body to look right. Otherwise, as an elbow gets bent, the whatever elbow pad you had there gets stretched out and warped and looks all ugly, and then SOE doesn't sell as many of them because they look horrible when the character's arm bends. So that's the sort of consideration that has to go into the costumes, and I feel like that's going to be the biggest place where animators in the community are going to be able to put their efforts into Landmark, and probably other, like when PlanetSide 2 opens it up, and maybe even H1Z1 will allow for custom jackets and stuff. I want one of those bubbly jackets like Michael Jackson used to wear. That would be awesome.
You want a Thriller jacket?
Yes, I do. My brother has one.
Everybody else will. That would be a very popular item in the store, I'm sure, for H1Z1.
Yes, it would.
I wouldn't be surprised if at some point they give players the ability to do all this on their side without having to bother SOE about it.
Well, they have to bother SOE about it. For one thing, like the money comes through SOE, and they've got to make sure that the items are priced appropriately, and they've got...
No, I understand that, but I mean, as far as, that's a bottleneck right now.
Right.
Players, as they create items and then say, hey, by the way, not only do I need it approved, I also need you guys to animate it for me.
Right.
I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if down the road they add the ability for people to do that on their own.
Yeah. A static animation.
Is there a good reason why they don't let them do that right now?
A static object with a pretty simple animation, I could see, like, if I just want to have Like I'd wanted to make a dreidel hood ornament for Hanukkah for PlanetSide 2, so it'd just be a dreidel that's constantly spinning on the hood. Either that or doing something where it kind of spins for a moment and falls down on one of the letters. Probably none, because you get none when you fight
Is there
against
a
me.
reason? Why don't they let players animate now?
It's just because it doesn't link up with the system.
Gotcha.
You have
It's
to.
proprietary on
Yeah.
their side. It's
You-
not a universal thing. Gotcha.
You're giving them an object that exists in arbitrary space, and they have to then take it and scale it to their space. So the entire coordinate system is completely off. Proportions of everything end up being completely off. So it's a lot of work. Now that doesn't mean they couldn't give us a style guide and all the rules and terms to follow to make that happen.
Yeah.
But that might be something later on.
Yeah, and
It's
Diggs
like
is saying
in,
in the chat room, he thinks that artists usually tweak everything. I wouldn't be surprised,
Yeah.
unless you've got someone who's just really goddamn good at it at this point.
Right. Daddy, what were you saying?
I was saying they don't have a player studio for EQ2 for animated props and stuff, do they?
Yeah, if they do.
Because I know some of the animations on some of the props that they have for your housing and stuff, EQ2.
Oh, I don't. I'll be honest. I've never bought a thing in Player Studio. Sorry, everybody, ever. I mean, I bought plenty of stuff from SOE. I've never bought anything from a Player Studio.
Well, I'm saying Player Studio submitting it into EverQuest 2, their props and their ideas. They have tons of animated props in EQ2, so I'm sure we're going to see double that eventually in Landmark.
Yeah.
Between iron golems and animated wind-up toys and stuff like that. It's just scratching the surface with ideas right now. As Rosie was saying, on Reddit, they're looking at the votes, what people want most. Right now, the best thing they probably give us is chains and ropes, pieces of rope that you can, put on a bucket to go down a well, just little sections like they did with the pipes.
Yeah.
The steampunk pipes, science pipes they brought out. I've seen some builds people are doing with that stuff. It's unbelievable.
Oh yeah.
I never would have thought of using a simple pipe for what I've seen. They're making telescopes and all this other cool gadgets with it.
Yeah.
So you're giving these guys again an inch, and they're taking that mile with it. So it'd be really nice when they allow Player Studio to have 3D models. And,
Yes. Yeah.
And that'll be coming down the road. It's just because it's a lot of work to take stuff in from the community, and they've realized they'll have to have a limit on it at some point, and probably take things in waves rather than having an open do whatever sort of thing. At some point a few months ago, they basically said, we are not taking any more camos in PlanetSide 2 at all. You guys have been great. You've given us everything we need. We'll let you know if we need more, but for right now, we're done. We got enough. So that's I think how it's going to be for that for a little bit, and it's going to be a matter of how many props are they going to want to have backed up in the system before they're going to put a stop to it and be like, all right, hold up, folks, we got to process all the ones we got before we can start taking more. It's kind of an interesting thing, and then it also brings up the question: at what point do they have so many things to get approved and implemented in the game that they actually have to start hiring new people just to get the stuff in?
Well, right now with the Player Studio on the voxel-based stuff, it's player approved. As long as it's not anything vulgar, obscene, I come in, I get, whenever I log in, I got 2 or 3 things to review, check them out and click on them. Don't know why the players are reviewing it right now. I guess it's an easier way than putting a admin on it and saying, oh, okay, you got to approve this, you got to approve that, you got to do this, which is a good system. But you might get that idiot, I don't like that, and I'm not approving it. Or I don't like this, I'm not approving that. Because you will get.
Said they have an internal system. They can, if you flag something as I don't like this, and they look at it and go, he's calling wolf. They tag your account. You're calling wolf, and then eventually, you lose weight in the ticket system. So
you're probably also asked to vote on things a lot less if it's the first posting of something. Yeah,
Because they made it very clear that it's not to be used to like, no, I just don't like this guy. I'm not going to,
right.
It's about, is this inappropriate? That's it. That's
Yeah.
all you are thumbs upping or thumbs downing is it appropriate?
Well, that's nice about the review stuff too. You don't even know who's submitting it. It's just the item. No names are attached to it. So
Yeah.
you like it or
Yeah.
you just ignore it and that's it. So
Yeah.
Yeah, Wick, unless it's given a thumbs down, it's player reviewed. If it gets all thumbs up, then that means there's nothing obscene about it and it can go in the game and it'll be just fine. But thumbs down doesn't mean I don't like it. Thumbs down means it's got something that's either inappropriate or an IP violation or some other reason that it's not supposed to be in the game. So that's kind of the thing. It can be a piece of crap, but so long as it's an appropriate piece of crap, it can go in.
So I'm one of those folks. I can confirm. We mentioned this last week on the show that I have spent the obligatory 1,000, station cash in Landmark since closed beta. I think the requirement was an alpha, but since I got in, I have spent money in their store, and I have not been getting the peer review stuff. And it was brought to my attention. One of the folks that works on that over at SOE was interacting with Coda Voss. He hit me to what was going on. Emailed him my account info, let them know, here's what I think I've bought. I should be qualified. He hit me up and said, yeah, you should be getting it, and it's clearly a bug in the system. We're going to try and get it fixed. So if you're like me and you've spent money since, alpha began for Landmark and you're not getting the peer review stuff, then it's a bug, and you might want to let them know. But they're working on it. So
do you know if that also covers listing fees? Like if I've listed 1,000 station cash worth of fees?
So.
Okay.
As long as the money was spent in the Landmark station cash store, you're pretty much covered. It should be counting. So if it's not, then something's not working right.
Cool. So that's been a lot. Oh, and I did want to go back to something we were talking about a little bit with the like props and moving voxels.
Yeah.
The thing that I was saying about voxels that don't have texture but can be potentially moved. I guess I would be using decals to give those texture. And honestly, thinking about it, decals would give us the ability to do things that people have been asking for, and maybe even be able to reduce the amount of overall textures that we have. So if I could just manually kind of decal out the stone pattern that I want on my amaranthine, instead of it being the purple that we have right now, they just give me a very raw purple of that color and that kind of shine to it, and I can apply the decals however I want to give it like the brick look or lines or worn, broken up kind of areas. I would love to have that, and then extrapolating that to voxels on things that move. If you're using the decals to decorate them, those aren't going to have any problem with they move. So you would potentially be able to use a combination of decals as well as voxels as well as whatever you're using as the movement system that links it all together. Potentially, hypothetically, I don't know 100% if that's exactly how it would be able to work, or if there'd be a different system they would have to do to make that happen.
Maximilian's also just saying he thinks you have to have recently purchased things on the market. Impacts whether they ask you to review items. No, Max. I was interacting with the person who's working on this, and if you've spent any money, if you've spent over 1,000 station cash total at any time during the Landmark store has been open in the Landmark store, it should be flagging you to do the peer review thing. And if it's not, it's a bug, and they know about it. So just to be clear, that as long as you've spent it during beta, it doesn't have to be I spent it in the last 2 weeks. Sorry.
Yeah, I think you guys in chat, I think you folks are right about the having to be in there frequently, not to actually see the things. But the more you kind of mess up with the rankings, the more you thumbs down something that shouldn't be thumbs down, the more it kind of lowers your priority and lowers the weight of the decisions that you make.
Yeah.
So, yeah, someone could have spent enough, but just not be active enough to see them. Because you're not going to just log in and have a queue of them waiting for you. It's just whenever somebody puts an item up, 2 people or however many people in the world instantly see some notification about it.
Well, yeah, all I know is I log in every single day to the game. I have spent well over $10 of real-world money in their store, and I have yet to see a single peer review. So,
see, now I'll log in.
Something's broken.
I'll log in and I'll have 3 or 4 of them waiting for me every time I log in.
There you go. So something is broken.
Oh, so they do build up in a queue.
Yeah, they do. I don't know if it's just me or what, but every time I log in, I'll have minimum 2, max like 3 or 4.
Yeah,
Weird.
I've never gotten one. Never gotten one.
Huh. I wonder if it's maybe because you've done enough of them that they'll actually queue them up for you. Interesting, because I wonder if that...
Well, I was told by the gentleman working on it at SOE, it's a bug, and they're looking into it. So
I know I've spent quite a bit in the store between buying space for my inventory. I think I'm 98 out of 100 spaces there now.
Nice.
So, between that, the outfits and some giveaways, and then the orbs when they first came out. So I don't worry about spending the SC. It's a game I enjoy, and if there's something nice there, I'm eventually going to buy it. Might not be right away. I'll wait for a sale for it. It's like those new Power Ranger suits they brought out. The red one looks really nice, the red and white, but I'm going to wait till it drops down in price before I buy it.
Gotcha. Yeah, all of these things will probably go on sale at some point, just like with PlanetSide 2, how they have normal item on sale every day and a subscriber only item on sale every day. I could see that going with the outfits and the resources and all of that stuff. And it might not be just one for normal and one for subscribers. It might increase it more than that, and that'd be really interesting to see. But yeah, that'll be kind of cool. Okay, so we talked about Kerrans earlier. I think we is there anything else before we move on actually about the props wish list discussion, props in general? I guess I'm just going to bring up one more time that after the show I am going to post about getting more functionality for the bookcases so we can have them move in different ways.
I loved Rosie's idea about having the props or the effects from the props, like the sparkly effects, the smoke, the fog,
particle emitters.
Yeah.
That's
I would love to have those. Just this, take a size of an orb or whatever the light orb is, and just plop it down, bury it in the ground a little bit, and then you would have this smoke emitting without the need for a prop to be torch to be buried down there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they've heard us. They've heard us enough say, I want to be able to do this. I want to be able to do that. It would be a really neat prop idea, and I should probably contribute this. So here's what you do. You make like a crystal ball that glows, and it glows brighter or glows brighter and sends a particle effect to another of its like if they're near enough each other.
That could be fun.
So you can create columns of energy.
I could see that. I mean, they could definitely do that, or set up emitters that go in a direction. Then you just set up one emitter here and one emitter here, and they're just single direction.
That's a great idea too. That's a great idea too. But you know what I mean? I mean, there you go. There's a science fiction application. There's a magical application for it.
Yep.
But that's what I'm looking forward to, because that's really going to, because that opens up the imagination without you having to be a voxelmancer.
Right.
I mean, you've seen my build. It's not horrible. It's not great. It's very practical. But you start giving me things like glass voxels and lights, and I might start being able to do some creative things with that. You start giving me the ability to add particle effects and columns of energy, and again, I might be able to start getting really creative with that. Those are the things I've been hoping for, and the fact that they went out of their way to say, that's what we want too. We're all on the same page. Yay!
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for the flashing or blinking orb, or the spinning around, the little light spinning around like a cop's light.
They added the sci-fi patch, floating orb, and I got all excited, right? Because I thought it was going to really look like a floating orb, and it's like, it's floating like this far off the pedestal. and it like I expected it to do something, and it doesn't do anything, and I'm like, you're useless to me. Back in the chest.
Yeah, I mean, I when I see them, I've seen them in so many different places, mostly as sci-fi controls. I haven't seen one as a doorknob yet.
Oh, I have a whole computer panel now on my build next to the door.
Nice.
Going to my lower level. It's just a whole intricate thing of computer panels. So that's how I use props. Oh, new props. Put them here. All right.
Yeah.
Ready. Next.
Yeah. Those pipes, I've seen a lot of really awesome futuristic looking furniture made with them. Just a few voxels positioned in a few, kind of boxy places, and then line it with pipes, and bam, it looks like Tron all of a sudden.
Well, even those new fan props, you put a few light orbs on, like the center and the base and everything, it really makes them stand out. So.
Yep. I went by Shatari's claim. It's actually somewhere I can just fly to from my claim now, so it's pretty cool. I was hoping to see some like awesome flying something ship, but I don't know if they're putting in a lot of work right now. I definitely want to see. I haven't gone looking yet if anybody has done some really awesome fighter jets using these new props, because one of the propellers, the kind of angled piece on the end, definitely looks like you're supposed to take that piece and stick it in a turbine. So I'm really excited to see when people start doing some of that stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm waiting until we can actually make those vehicles do things. Like, okay, I can actually travel around in this. Then I'll get excited about building vehicles,
Yeah, right now
everything's
static and in place is nice, but as you say, once it starts to move, then you get excited about it.
Yeah.
Suddenly I'll be much more excited about airships when people are actually like having parties on them and flying around their islands, Then I'm going to be like, yeah.
Even if it was tethered to something on the ground and could only go around the perimeter of your 4 lots.
If that's what they have to do, yeah, that's fine. But yeah, definitely give us that ability and it will be a good time.
Yeah. That should be a lot of fun seeing some of that stuff. And I guess the other thing is, right now the engine sometimes has a little bit of trouble with working with the prop that you're standing on. Not necessarily.
I have had some weirdness happen with that from time to time. Yeah,
like doors in particular. When I do the house made of doors or whatever, the floor ones always have the most trouble moving. So I don't know if that's, especially if somebody's standing on it. So I don't know if there's an issue there or not.
I think props need an overhaul, because even the Iron Porculus, the gate's whacked. Sometimes you log in, it's 15 voxels higher than it should have been, or 15 voxels lower than it should have been. So
yeah,
they're still working on their animations and placements in the world. So
yeah, and that's a sinking issue that doors were having too. They would be in a different rotation position. They'd be 90 degrees from where you left them. They'd be and their width off to one side. Various other things. In fact, that's why I stopped building the houses made of doors, because every time I came back in, all the doors and everything were all out of place, and I'd have to sit there and put them all back, and I didn't want to have to mess with that anymore.
Well, every time we had a hot patch over the last couple of weeks, the Iron Porculus would like behave weirdly, and I have to reset it every time, and like that took 2 weeks to go away.
Pork cutlets, unpredictable pork cutlets. All right.
So I think that's the bulk of what they talked about on the workshop. I think we've pretty much...
Well, actually, they talked about the other thing was the farm props.
Oh, yes. Well, it also sounded not just farm props, but farming as a game element is what it sounds like they're internally discussing right now.
Yeah, and that would be great.
I would hate to see it as a separate game or a mini game. I would like to see it like the way Minecraft does it. You till the earth, you put down the seeds, and you watch it grow. Minecraft farming is a fun way.
That's what WildStar does with their farming on your lots as well. It's very similar. I think they give you a timer. It's 8 hours, 6 hours, 24 hours, whatever it may be. But similar thing. You can watch it grow and show up. And
Now there should be a skill involved with it. Maybe you have to tend the crops every so often. You have to give it the water or the nutrients or something to the soil. So if you're looking at that as like a mini game, I could see it floating, but
Yeah.
not like a whole separate game.
No, yeah. I just meant as a game mechanic, that you're harvesting carrots for something. But like
Right.
folks are saying, that's probably a bit down the road before we see that.
Yeah, because then that also starts to talk about, well, what's the crafting system that all of that stuff is going to lead to if that's actually going to be an interactive system. And that's all functionality that's awesome, but I feel like it can wait till, much later on. There's a lot more pressing things like combat that need to
Yeah,
go in first.
yeah, I would agree. Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
give us a reason to have to craft potions before making us craft
Craft
potions.
potions. Yeah, that's a very good point. That's a very good point.
Yeah, so that should be really interesting, and I'm hoping it's going to be more than just the crops. I'd actually love to see more interactable stuff. Not necessarily actual tools like a rake that you walk around with in your hand or a shovel or anything. Though just having an aesthetic item that you can hold in your hand that has no functionality would be kind of nice. But just being able to have, I guess, whatever sorts of simple functional farm props and stuff, like a one of those spouts that you'd find. You have to pump the water out of it or whatever. Various types of carts and wagons and stuff, especially if they move a certain distance, that would be great.
Livestock. Give us an ox to pull the plows.
Yeah, there you go.
That'd be nice if they're going to induce farming. Give us the livestock to go with it. Chickens, roosters, maybe a couple swine pigs or something. A couple pigs in a stall.
Petri plate. Actually, that was something I talked about, I think, on the very first live feature rant, and then it came back up again a few weeks ago. Being able to place the tools in the world as props.
That'd be very nice if they implemented that. Still got all the axes that you worked your way through in your bags. Get some use out of them. Let them be displayed.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Being able to actually put all of your old armament on a mannequin, so you can have back when the game came out, this was my first set of equipment, and this is what I killed the first raid boss the game ever had in, and have your just history of awesome equipment over the course of the game. Or I actually see it as being more of a like the DCUO
Armories.
Yes, the armories. Exactly. You know what I'm talking about. The ability that you've got the aesthetic there, but it's also the functionality in that specific equipment. So you can swap out. You can be in your combat version or your crafting version or your traveling version or whatever, and have the aesthetic as well as the specific equipment kind of tied together with that. For me, I see a lot of that going with combat because I probably am going to have a bunch of different combat builds and don't want to have to swap out from one to the next, taking like 5 minutes to go between chests and inventory and everything. So that would actually, the armory system from DCUO, just give me that. That'd be lovely.
Yeah, that'd be real nice because on the fly swapping out with a small cooldown, I can see certain things being limited when you're going into combat. Are you going to be able to use your grappling hook? Are you going to be able to use your belt of the Zephyr and glide away from it? Are the different types of combat? So you can have range combat, magic, sword and board. It's all going to be, if they implement something like the DCU Armory, I agree with you 100%. That should be, swap out your loadouts. You have your building tools on one bar for one skill set. You have your warriors tools and armor loadouts and all that stuff for another swap out. So that's the road they've already gone with DCO. Maybe Landmark should follow suit.
Zach and Levin, question marks, or questions end with a question mark, but we'll definitely talk about this here. So, saying, I don't think Landmark will work unless they give us the ability to build whole towns, where it's not just on our own, not just 9 plots, Minecraft crowd. Well, the last time I went by Angel Bay, I realized that's what they've done. Even though it isn't all built in one place, there's a lot of builds all associated together, all tied into this one area, and it's very obvious to see that they're all part of one large kind of unit. There's just kind of space in between. I definitely love to be able to have something where we don't necessarily have full control over what's going on between two claims necessarily, but where there's the red space on my claim and the red space on your claim, and where they kind of overlap, being able to actually connect roads of different types and have it, tell it which squares to do and have it procedurally set down a road, so that way players don't have to actually deal with that stuff or build it up. Maybe not even spend materials on it, and then if one of those claims moves, or times out, the road just disappears. It was procedurally generated anyway. It can be procedurally regenerated as needed. Not really a big loss. And that way the world heals back to its natural state, rather than a claim that had a road to another one built. Suddenly that road has no purpose. It just kind of goes somewhere and then cuts off.
Didn't they say something about the leagues in this patch or the next patch? Leagues will be, a week or two away, I believe. I was hoping they would have brought in the leagues for the guild claims. Like we did back in Alpha with Othaldi Group, we had 32 plots all together.
Yeah.
Even though it was a bug, that we timed it and we submitted it, and they let us play with it for as long as we could.
Cheaters! Wasn't it 35?
32.
It was 32? Okay.
Yeah. The second one. The first one was a little smaller. But that 35 plot or 32 plot builds stressed the hell out of players' PCs. They would come in and they start stuttering. So until they start getting the optimization in-game, I don't think we're going to see large group claims bigger than the 4 plots. So
there is something that this game offers that Minecraft doesn't: the ability to do 21st century builds.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Not this always perpetually stuck in 8-bit land.
Blocky land, yeah.
It's a different thing that I think will appeal to a different kind of player. I'm not really sure trying to steal away the Minecraft player is what they're really setting out to do. I don't think that's really what their plan is.
No, and especially with all the mods available for Minecraft.
Yeah.
There's hundreds of mods out there that people play Minecraft, Feed the Beast and so on. It's just Minecraft to me, I don't want to be an 8-bit blocky game. I'd rather be in Landmark. Everything's 3D, beautifully rendered. I can make shapes. I can make circles. I can make cylinders.
The big turnoff to a lot of Minecraft players is actually the whole idea that it is an open world with other players. I've run into this. I have friends or people that follow me on social media that have, over the years, paid attention to the games I get interested in. And he is a regular Minecraft builder and was not interested until I forwarded him some. I said, well, here's what players are doing with these tools if they understand how to use them. And when the screenshots of the player builds sold them, I'm jumping in on a beta. Even though he doesn't like dealing with the open world thing, but he's a little odd. He just doesn't like the open world thing. It's not his thing. I think that's a bigger hurdle for Minecraft players, really. So, but the tool set and what players can do will appeal to people, and that will bring them along. Just to give that a try, whether they stay or not, will be a whole nother thing. But I think there'll be enough curiosity factor when word gets around. Look at what people are doing there,
Yeah, for sure. It'll be interesting to see not just Landmark, but just all the demographics that Landmark is going to be able to potentially hit on as more of the features come in. I honestly feel like more, and get ready to take a drink, everybody, pour it out now, Star Wars Galaxies players, they're not going to be going to H1Z1, they're going to be going to Landmark, because I think that's going to be the open world sandbox that they're really looking for, to be able to build it up and make an economy, and you build your place in the world and try to survive,
That's a very good
yeah.
point. I hadn't really, it's funny. I haven't been thinking about that in those terms, but you're kind of right. As a former Star Wars Galaxy player, I'm not into the idea of the hardcore element of H1Z1. Matter of fact, I'm really kind of over the zombie thing. I hate to say it. It's like I was kind of tapping out on the zombie thing a year and a half ago. Like, all right, I get it. Zombies are awesome. I've kind of had my fill. You're right. Landmark because it's going to be more casual player friendly. It's going to be more noob friendly. It's going to, because it's going to be this flexible world. You build what you want. You're not going to be locked into it must be fantasy, it must be sci-fi, it must be steampunk. Like, people are going to do whatever the hell they want,
Yeah.
And they'll build communities around that like they always do, as long as they give them, the tool set they need to say connect the players and all of that.
Right.
That's talk for another time,
Yeah. Okay, so we have maybe a little bit more to talk about with the
what is there left to talk about?
Well,
We've talked about everything.
There's still Kerrans, but before that, okay, so they did talk about movers and teleporters are already on the list. They're already working on that stuff. So that's awesome. We talked about all of that. So 6 of the confirmed races that we know about. In fact, actually 8 of them. They revealed the other 2 today.
Yes.
So humans, elves, dark elves, Kerrans, dwarves, Ixar, llamas, and chicken horses. Now, those last 2, actually, I'm not 100% sure on. Terry's really pushing for those chicken horses. I really wish him the best of luck with it.
We know for sure that llamas is really Fae.
Yeah, that's
the last one. So what's the last one? If we're getting Fae, what else is missing?
What was that, Draconian people? What's the...
That's what the Iskar are.
Yeah, Ixar, cover that. Well, this is, once again, this is playable at the beginning, at launch.
Launch character.
Rotundas, the rat people?
No, I don't think. I think the one super short race are, dwarves, obviously. I think Fae is going to be the short race that we're getting, and probably not Rotanga till later.
I would have to say ogres are probably on the list. The enemy. No, I would say the enemy of my enemy lore was meant to be kind of a prep for ogres. And
you think so? You think ogres are going to be on the good guys?
Yeah. Oh yeah. They are.
Yeah.
If you read the lore, they're the ones. They're leading the front lines at the fall of Bastion.
We got people saying gnomes and halflings. I think halflings are going to probably be a later race.
Yeah.
Gnomes, maybe. Like, it does seem kind of weird not to have gnomes.
Well, they don't need to be necessarily a playable race from the beginning. In fact, I kind of like them not being playable because they're probably going to be where a lot of the cool tech comes from. So you actually have to, as players, befriend them to actually get access to that stuff. I like that rather than just starting as like, oh, I can just make gadgets and gizmos.
So I'm saying Fae because every time we've brought it up, and I brought it up a number of times when there's been people from SOE in chat answering questions, whatever, they're always sure to say it did score very high in our player voting.
Yeah. No,
higher than most of the other shorter races. So
I'm pretty sure.
Odds are pretty good. Faye's going to beat out, some of the other races. But I don't know. Gnomes seem like
it's the
kind
heroic
of a needed race.
It's the heroic movement. That's why the Fae. When people saw, oh my God, there's going to be a heroic movement. Oh my God, that race has wings. Vote, 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 vote.
I mean, that's what I'm hoping. Faye would look awesome with the heroic movement. It would be very cool.
One thing I'd really love to see them give us is appearance trinkets. So if we're doing dark elves, let us pop a trinket and look like a dark elf.
Yeah.
Let us
I'm
pop
sure
a trinket, look like a dark
That's a
dwarf.
common EQ2 thing, so I'm sure it will show up.
So I'm hoping they bring them in soon. This way it gets everybody in the mood for all these new races that are going to be
That would be neat. I'm sure they'll do something fun in Landmark to get people ready for next and stuff like that. I do. I hope that eventually we'll see that spill over into Landmark, a variety. I think the idea of being able to be a blob or a robot or whatever is a great idea down the road for sure. But let's see. I'm looking. I don't know. Yeah, ogres, trolls. Yeah, it looks like we're not getting. I'm not getting a lot of. I'm not getting the pushback I thought I would from folks on the idea that Fae
No,
would be a
they're
star race.
really popular race actually.
Yeah, well, cool. Awesome. I'm glad I'm not the only one because I absolutely adore my Fae. She's a fun little character to play.
I think Kaylest from Evercast plays Faye, doesn't she?
I believe so. She wasn't on when I was on last week.
I think that and Dark Elf are the two races that she usually plays, if I'm not mistaken.
Some folks are saying Froglocks. I'm sure Froglocks will eventually end up the game, but I do not think that in any way is starting. Yeah.
Daddy, you were gonna say something there? Oh,
No, that's I'm fine.
Gotcha. I thought you were gonna say something. Well, okay, so Kerrans are kind of an interesting thing. Now, I think not just because of Lady Voxel, the little SOE kitten, but I think the reason why Kerrans won the vote over dwarves.
It's the way Jeff talked it up. Jeff talked it up during their presentation, and I think that swayed people.
I don't think that's it, actually. I think if we roll it back to SOE Live last year, what was one of the two major races that we saw whooping ass out there?
Cat dude.
Yes, the Kerrans. So I'm pretty sure what it is. The EverQuest Next community has already seen Kerrans in action. Now they want more. I feel like that's probably like almost the only reason why they were able to contend with dwarves, because everyone I've talked to voted dwarf. I
voted dwarf.
Yeah, everybody that I know voted dwarf for the most part.
And I like the concept art that they sneaked tonight of the new Kerran, the new looks. They're not all that big, muscular. You saw some slim and sleek Kerrans. So they're going to be like the Jaguars or the Panthers, the Assassins.
Yeah.
That sneak around a bit more than the big hulking lion dudes.
The second from the right on the bottom on that page reminded me of the villain from Lion King.
Yeah,
that's pretty much what he looked like. He was modeled after.
And like Dix points out, it was a very close vote where Kerran got 52% of the vote and Dwarves 48%, and it fluctuated all over the weekend. So it was a close vote. So.
Yeah.
I suspect Dwarves will be a shoe-in unless they put it up against something like Fae, and then they're in trouble again.
Eventually, Dwarves will get their date. Don't you worry.
They will.
I think everybody has a solid footing as to what dwarves build.
Yeah, there's no mystery as to what dwarves are supposed to be. Yeah.
I mean, especially with dark elves just re-emerging from wherever they've come from. And now with the Kerrans, they're trying to revamp them. So dwarves, we know, are stout, hardy drinkers that like things big.
Yep.
They're tiny, but they build big things. Yeah, and it should be really interesting to see the sort of stuff that goes into their builds. And I guess if dwarves are going to have every single hallway big and lofty and grand that everybody can get through, or if they are going to have parts that's like, yeah, we know we're short and we know that makes it more defensible because we have these tones that you can't use. And I think of the relations with in other games like the dwarves and what are those ratkins called in Warhammer? Was it Skaven? But they're two like definitely enemy races. Dwarves have special enchantments for fighting against the rats, and rats have specialized warriors that fight against specifically for dwarves. So that sort of stuff I could see them fighting over their tight corridors, the dwarves having built up their infrastructure, and the Rotanga deciding to live in it and eat their cheese, and then the battles that ensue from that. Yeah, we kind of are and we kind of aren't, because I can't remember one of the EverQuests they have that kind of Asian-y look for one of the large cat races, and one of them they don't. So we now have, kind of what we're looking for in this version here with the Jabba's Palace, maybe a little, with the version that we've got here. And I linked the architecture. You can scroll up and find it. Oh, there's a better picture of it. Or is that just the one from Rave. As a cat house. Good one. So this architecture, now I'm looking at it here while I'm talking, and I recommend everyone else does here. So just looking at kind of, I don't really see like a stream or a pond or anything nearby or a river going by. I guess a little bit kind of looks like maybe a bridge. It's hard to tell from here.
Yeah, it's like a walkway that runs around
Yeah.
of that building set.
Those little columns they've got everywhere, kind of decoratively.
Those feel to me like they would be wood. Like they would be solid, polished wood. Almost Polynesian.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I actually get
Could
more
be a
of the
light
feel
colored
of.
wood, but I see those as being made of wood. That's not stone.
I see those as stone actually. Looking at the using
No,
the
because the wood would contrast the stonework around it.
potentially. I mean, it depends on what the walls themselves are actually made from.
See, I'm seeing the walls being made of like a slate or a stone.
I could almost see them even being made of like a plastery sort of material. Daddio, what are you kind of seeing with it?
Like I said, I can see a lot of wood trim, stone foundation going up into maybe a thin plastered. I want to say they're more of nomadic, so I don't want to say they're going to have stronger buildings. It's something that might last them for a year or so till they move on to another area. But definitely wood. I can see a lot of wood in their textures and stuff. So
Someone suggesting clay.
That would make
definitely.
sense.
Yeah.
Adobe style.
Yeah, and the detailed woodwork would go with clawed hands.
Yeah, that would make sense. You can see the kind of wood posts sticking out where you can see the architecture where that wood is reinforcing it. Of course, that also kind of says to me whenever I see that highly burnable structure, fight with fire. So you're right. I don't know how permanent the structures are meant to be. If it's,
I'll bet you their light sources are all crystalline. Look at those posts on the outside of the city.
That's a good point actually, because you can
Probably
see
like crystalline light sources, so they're not worried about setting their base on fire or their structures on fire.
I don't think they'd be too worried about seeing at night, being a cat. So I
Big-
don't think they'll be.
Exactly.
They don't need bright lights. I mean, they just use the dim stuff to maybe highlight a door or something,
Yeah.
But I don't think they use much lighting.
Yeah, I think a lot of those the windows, that's all going to be like really nice, like intricate. Like I'm almost getting a bamboo vibe with those roofs and
Well, the posts around that building on the left definitely kind of sound like, if not bamboo, then they definitely seem like they would be some sort of wood.
A lattice.
Yeah.
Lattice, some type of lattice work, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what's up with that lookout post on the left? I'm trying to figure that out and how that matches or doesn't with the rest of it, because we've got like the Space Needle with the sail on top, and I'm not really sure how that.
I'm not sure it's a lookout post. Could it be just is it just a fancy
cat
weather
toy?
What?
Daddio was fun at the era because it's a big old cat toy.
It's a big cat toy. I mean, look at the stuff hanging from it. It's a platform to climb up on.
So that's what they do. They just when they're done doing their cat things for the day, they climb up there and they just pawing at it and having a good old time, huh?
That's it. They don't need to hire a babysitter. They just put the kittens up there and they'll let them play.
Windmill. I like that as a windmill. It's definitely a different kind of way to do it, but it would do the same purpose.
A weather vane.
Weather vane. I could see that. Yeah. Seems like a kind of a big
it's raining.
one.
If it's dry, it's nice.
Yeah. You can also see some of these lamps and lanterny looking things hanging off some of the buildings, mostly on the right sides of them, I notice. And I don't know if the right side is a specific aesthetic choice or if that's just where the artist ended up putting them.
Maybe it's just like, all right, someone complained, how would they see without lamps? So here's a couple of examples with lamps. Like, he didn't go hog wild with just those two buildings have them. So,
honestly, I'm looking at that platform on the left, I think it's actually just like a hangout place or like a place to eat or something. It looks like there's a bridge connecting to the building to the right
yes,
of it.
there is.
So that might just be the nice lookout point sort of
Which
thing.
plays to the cat thing very
Yep.
nicely.
Because
Cats
they
want to travel up high. Yeah.
travel up high, outdoorsy. Like this almost seems too contained for Kerrans to me. I feel like they would want more natural air and the elements coming through. The top floors being the only ones that have those large open windows, it doesn't quite seem like they would want to just go to the top floor to get that fresh air. It seems like they'd want it everywhere.
Well, I think the higher you are, the cooler it would be rather than being down low. You got the advantage of security being up high. You can pounce down on somebody.
True.
No one's going to be able to jump up and get you unless it's another Kerran. And just having the breeze up high, you're going to have more of a breeze rather than down low where the other buildings are blocking it. So
True, that's true. I could still probably see a little bit more openness, like that kind of posts that's going around the building on the left. I could see a lot more of that and a lot more like space with large overhang leading up to a smaller building rather than the overhang just being this kind of thing lining the outside of the building. Definitely having more outdoorsiness to it and being able to I guess find a way to be more ornate with the material without having to use more material and build up more stuff.
like that platform, you have a height advantage, but you also have shade for it. So
Yeah.
if you're in the heat of the sun, heat of the day, you can get underneath it for the shade, which a lot of the lions will seek out during the day under the shade, sleep the day away, and then go out at night and party. So
Yeah. What about the biome the building should take part in? That's a good question. It looks like it could be a little kind of planty. I see those kind of thin plants and stuff towards the middle and towards the right. So it's got something with a little bit of grass to it. It's not full on desert. They could be in the desert, and actually what I was first thinking about for Kerrans was maybe something a little bit more natural and worked into the world itself. Like I think it was Andrew who was working on a claim that was kind of like themed on this. I think it was a Moroccan city where it was carved out of a mountain. So the entire thing has that uniform sandstone look to it the entire way around. But it's clearly been carved up and built up in a really nice, ornate way. That almost is what I was kind of expecting to see with Kerrans, and maybe for their stuff in the desert they would mess around with that a little bit. But I don't really see, thinking about it, big cats don't seem like they want to hang out in the desert much.
Nope. No, well, folks are saying grassland or jungle. I'm sure this is going to probably end up in a tropical biome, and that would fit in very nicely. Which leads me to believe that these walls are definitely like an adobe clay stucco kind of, as opposed to a slate, for sure.
Of course, it could be like where we see kind of the lower third, middle third, and upper third of the buildings. The lower third could definitely be more like a reinforced brick, where the middle is more of that kind of adobe that we were talking about. In the middle and the upper.
The core of the buildings is fairly basic. The ornate comes from the woodwork they're adding to the upper level, into the roofs.
Yes, Rave, that's the one. Something like that. Actually, there was maybe one that was a little bit less ornate than that I was thinking, but yeah, something along those lines I could definitely see them messing around with. I would imagine that they would have like really beautiful inlays and architecture with stuff kind of dug into stuff, because they're just sitting around all day scratching decorations into things. They're cats. They've got their tools built into their hands or paws, and I imagine they probably have like specialized tools. It's just like a chunk of metal that form-fitting to the claw. You just slip it on a claw and you do all the art you need to. You don't have to worry about dulling your claw. Though I feel like half of the joy of being a cat is sharpening your claws, so it would give them an excuse.
There's a Polynesian build that I was doing for the Kerran build, which I thought would be a little tropical. You get the breeze, you got the height, and you got the lattice work for the shelter. So the way they're going, I'm going to say, is more inland, more deserty,
Yeah.
with that type of build than something tropical along the coastlines.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, what you built is actually a little more of the openness that I was kind of expecting to see with it. I like the post you did there too. Very nice.
thank you.
Cool stuff. Got another one from you, Rave. Awesome. Yeah, Rave, that one. That's more what I was thinking. That's kind of what I would expect Kerran architecture to look like, at least out in the desert.
hmm So you can even go back to the American Indians living in the caves that they dug out here in
Yeah.
the Americas. Very similar to that.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot that we can just kind of learn from this image that we've gotten and kind of extrapolate on for what Kerran architecture can be, what it will be, what it might be. And it'll be really nice being able to use this as a guide, as something to not only build based on, but then being able to kind of break it apart and go above and beyond from here. Because there might be more things, maybe adding a kind of squared, what's it called, like a squared mini ziggurat kind of look to the bottom, where it kind of stair steps up a little bit until you get to the base. That could be something that also really works, because I'd imagine Kerrans like jumping up on things because they're big cats. So
They're also not rescaping their landscape. If you look at this design of the building, it is based off of the shape of the land.
that's true.
Like the upper parts of the ramp are because there's a giant rock there.
That's true.
You know, that's something else I just picked up on.
Building up into
Yeah,
it, yeah.
I think that if they found an old ruins, that they could easily move into it and update it to their needs for their nomadic wanderings or whatever. So
Are we sure they're nomadic though?
I don't know. I mean,
Cats traditionally are not nomadic animals. They did not become domesticated animals until we, as a species, started sitting in one place for longer periods of time.
I mean, if you look at African plains, the lions and their prides have, huge territories that they claim, and it takes them like a whole season to go through one part in like a complete circle. So, they follow the water source, they follow the food source, so they don't stay in one area. They have to go where the food and everything is.
I could see that, but that's a different consideration, because those are large cats as beasts. These are intelligent large cats that can forge, beautiful armor and have it defend them and cover them in all positions while they're running on all fours. So it's it's a little bit of a different situation. They have the choice of free will on this one, whether they choose to stay put or choose to travel. So they could potentially be more nomadic, and that could actually be one kind of subsect of the race itself, is a more nomadic version that doesn't actually stay in one place and prefers to just live off the land and be badasses. And they would probably be some of the best rangers you'd be able to have, at least among large races. Yeah, harmony with nature vibe. Yeah, building into rather than forming into their will. That's a good point. Cool. All right, so we've had a lot of awesome stuff to discuss here, and a lot of awesome folks here to discuss it with. I gotta say thanks to everybody for coming through here. This has been a lot of really good stuff to discuss here. A lot of fun with chat. A lot of great links. Rave, you've been really good there with posting the awesome links. Thank you very much. But we are getting close to the end of the show, so we should probably start wrapping up. So I'm going to start it over with you, Adam. Why don't you give your wrap up and what you've been up to?
Yeah, just follow me on Twitter. Everyone always follows me on Twitch. I'm not live streaming. Follow me on Twitter, AT0MXII. There you go. It's not hard.
Good enough. And Daddio, your stuff. What you're about?
That's it, man. Daddio66 on Twitter, Twitch, and Facebook. So
YouTube?
YouTube, I think you can find Daddio66.
Okay. And then in game, of course, Daddio66.
It's just Daddio.
Oh, just Daddio. Oh,
Yeah.
whoops! I think I had that wrong in the ticker. Then. Oh well.
Oh, that don't matter. That don't matter.
Cool deal. All right, and I am Legendary Neurotoxin, like I said, coming at you here every week, as I always am, with this here live feature rant and dead feature rant for H1Z1. Procedural powerhouses on Saturdays, Unity Daily every day as I do my dual input game, and once that moves on, I'll move on to the next game. And of course, Castles and Crab Shacks on Sundays, which is a landmark tour show, which I recommend everybody check out if you like watching tours, checking out what's new in Landmark, the stuff people have been working on. I'll see what kind of Kerrans stuff I can find, but I really don't know what I'm going to be doing this Sunday. So that should be a lot of fun. So we're going to do both a raid and a giveaway at the end of the show here. So once the show wraps up, once the camera's cut for now, I'm going to be giving us the raid target as well as starting the giveaway, and then we'll be moving on from there. So I thank each and every one of you for coming here. Absolutely been a pleasure having you, Daddio. Awesome builder, awesome member of the community here. It's great having you around. Landmark is better for having you.
Thank you.
And Adam, of course, he's you're always here, so don't need to say anything special. But that's it for the show. I'll see you folks later. We'll be doing a giveaway and a raid, so watch for that. Bye bye.